What's up, peeps? First Oakboro students, how are y'all doing tonight? So tonight we are going to be continuing our study and really kicking our study off with our first topic of emotion. But here's what's been happening lately from what we've been hearing from everybody is that for some reason, Facebook does not give a notification that we are live until two and a half minutes after we've started this broadcast. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to hear me ramble for maybe about another 60 seconds. This is in hopes that if you are just joining us for watching, that you don't miss the beginning of the devotion, so that you don't have to go and catch those first 60 seconds that you missed beforehand. So how are y'all doing? Dang it, y'all aren't here. I miss y'all. Anyways, how are you doing? Put it in the comments. How's your week been? How's your family doing? How's everybody doing? I'm excited for this devotion that we're going to be doing tonight. This series that we're going to be starting that we introduced last week. I'm excited that we're going to get everybody on the same page when it comes to our middle school students, our high school students, our elementary school students, and even the parents. All your parents, we're going to get them involved as well and getting family devotion started for 15, 20 minutes. Once a week, so that time that we miss so dearly where we're sitting in the youth room, where we're hanging out, we don't have that. But we can still meet together in person, just not on a large scale. The church has left the building, but that doesn't mean the church is still not the church anymore. So the church has left the building, but the church is now in your homes. The church is now in the essential businesses. The church is now in our community. Just today, we had a wonderful ministry event where we got to show God's love at Oakboro Park, where we get to feed over 200 families. It was awesome. So, the church has left the building, but the church has not ceased to be the church. So, I think we got enough time now to where hopefully some of you are able to join in and getting that notification that we are now live. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to open us up in prayer. Here's the plan for tonight. Open us up in prayer. And then I'm going to read you the first 10 verses of 2 Corinthians chapter 12. So if you need a copy of God's Word, pull up your phone, pull up another device. Join with me in 2 Corinthians 1 through 10. So, after we open it up in prayer, here's how Facebook Live devotions for our students are really going to move going forward. Is that these Facebook Live devotions are really going to serve as introductory videos for your small group devotions that hopefully you have found on the website. Those are live on the website, also on the Facebook page. Go there and download the PDF on the website, download and print the pictures on the Facebook. Soon we're going to be getting a Google survey put up so that you can just put your email address in and have that emailed to you at the beginning of probably the middle of every week. But Facebook Live devotions are going to be paired with these devotions. So if you're only doing one, say you do the devotions but you miss the video, or you're just listening to the video and you miss the devotions, you're missing the full picture. So it's like only catching like maybe half a Bible study. So be sure, grab those devotions. They're for the whole family. There's not any high school, middle school, and elementary different ones. They're all the same. They're written for a universal age level so that your family can come together and talk about the passage each week. So be sure to catch the devotions and these videos each week. So I'm going to open this up in prayer. We're going to give a little introduction and get you going so that you can come back together for 15, 20, maybe even 30 if the discussion goes a little bit longer minutes. And you can talk about this in person to where we don't have any internet issues going on. We don't have any people coming in and out. You can actually pick up on what people are saying. Nobody's muted or unmuted. Thankful for the technology, but so ready to be back together and see all of y'all in person again. So here's what we're going to do. Let me pray. We'll read our passage. And let me give you a little bit of an introduction and a challenge to go with it. And then make sure to pick up that devotion. God, you're awesome. God, you're great. I am thankful for who you are. I am thankful for what you've done. I ask that as we look at this devotion today, that you would convict us of where we have failed you. You would encourage us on where we are doing well in our walks with you. That you would spur us on to good works. That you would lift our spirits. That you would give us power to get rid of the evil one in your name. And all of the above, God. I thank you for who you are. I thank you for what you've done. In your precious, most holy name, I pray. So, here's the little saying that we introed this series with last week. Now, this saying, for you students that have been on Wednesday nights, this saying is going to be on the same level as God's kingdom. And God's kingdom is... Yes, you all know it. God's kingdom is God's reign. Exactly. This is going to be on the same level as Know, Love, Serve from our First John Bible study that we went through a couple months ago now. This is going to be on the same level as God's word. God is His word. Remember, we had that discussion on who is greater, God or His word. And so we had that Bible study. We had that discussion. So this next saying is going to be that one phrase that you should remember from the entire study. So, these intro videos, these discussion openers, plus your Bible studies, write this at the top of your Bible studies because this is going to be the one thing that should stick with you. Well, months, even years, you should be able to hear this phrase and go back to these Bible studies. So, if anybody, the first person who comments student-wise, only open for high school and middle school students, or any parent that comments on their behalf, because I know most of our high school students don't have Facebook, or the first high school or middle school student that texts me, my personal number, or shoots me a message on Facebook, or sends me a Snapchat, or whatever. Essentially, the first student, it may be well after this video is gone, but the first student that can remember the phrase from last week, the one that you're supposed to remember, will be getting a prize this week. I don't know what it's going to be. It could be candy. It could be a gift card. It could be something. It could be like an Amazon gift card. It could be something. So I'm going to take 15 seconds, see if anybody hops in on the comments, can claim that prize really quickly. The phrase, it was 3 words. The phrase from last week that's going to underline our entire series on emotions. I'll give you a hint. Emotions is in the phrase. All right. Any comments? Going once? Going twice? All right. If a random Facebook comment shows up, if you're the first, I will let you know and you'll be getting that prize, and it will be mailed to your door for your enjoyment. So, I'm going to go and give you the prize now, or the phrase now. So basically, now you're getting it for free. So basically, the first one that texts me or Facebook comments are now off now because that would be cheating. First student that texts me or gets in touch with me will now be the winner of the prize. Now it's just a race. See who's actually watching live and who is going to go back and watch this later on YouTube. So, the phrase is the thing that you should remember the entire time that we're talking about this series. We talked about it last week. Devotion over emotion. Let's say it one more time. Devotion over emotion. That's how we introed our series, as we're talking about these emotions that God has given us that we exhibit, but a lot of times are corrupted and become turned into horrible negative emotions. The phrase we need to remember is devotion over emotion. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how devotion over emotion fits into 1 Corinthians 12 and how 1 Corinthians 12 verses 1 through 10 show devotion over emotion. So join with me in reading. We're going to take this verse by verse very quickly, and then you're going to go, remember, later deeper in your study. So, read with me. I must go on boasting. There is nothing to be gained by it. I will go on to visions and revelations of the Lord. I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know, God knows. And I know that this man was caught up into paradise, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know, God knows. And he heard things that cannot be told, which man may not utter. So verses 1 through 4 I just read. In order to get the full big picture, we have to expound on that. It would make a really long video. But this week in your devotion with your family, you're going to be going through those first 4 verses in a little bit more detail. So again, Pick up that devotion. Verse 5. On behalf of this man I will boast, but on my own behalf I will not boast, except of my weakness. Though if I should wish to boast, I would not be a fool, for I would be speaking the truth, but I refrain from it, so that no one may think more of me than he sees in me or hears from me. Verse 7, verses 1 through 6. You're getting verses 1 through 6, that description in your devotion. Verses 7 through 10 is what this video is going to focus on tonight. So, verse 7. To keep me from being conceited, because of the surpassing greatness of the revelations, a thorn was given me in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to harass me, to keep me from becoming conceited. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that this should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. We'll pause right there. So, big picture right here, starting in verse 7. Verses 1 through 6, you're getting in your devotion. That's going to be crucial to understanding this full passage, but this is meant to be a discussion starter for you and your family doing this devotion. So, verse 7, Paul talks about that to keep him from getting a big head, to keep him from being conceited, keep him from thinking that he's the best stuff since sliced bread. He says that there was this thorn. Now, there's a lot of debate on what this thorn actually is. Some people think it was an actual physical thing. Some people might think it was his appearance. Some people might think he had eyesight that was bad for him. Some people thought it was a major speech impediment. Some people thought that it was something more emotional, that he was struggling with latent psychological issues. But whatever it was, there's a lot of debate on actually what this was. Something in Paul's life was not right. Something in Paul's life was making him miserable. Think about it. If you have a thorn in the side of your flesh, imagine you got a stick, and it's the size of I'm not talking like a rosebush thorn. I'm talking something that is sticking inside of you, because their thorns, they didn't think rosebush thorns. They thought like thorns on the crown that Jesus was crucified with. Those giant thorns. So imagine if you have that giant thorn sticking in your side, and you've prayed 3 times, God, please get rid of this. And God says no. What kind of emotions? That's what we're talking about this week. What kind of emotion is that going to spark? Comment on it. Give it a like if you maybe have an idea. But what kind of emotion is a thorn in your side going to cause? Not only just that thorn, it's there, it's annoying you, it's not going anywhere. You've asked God to take it away, and he's essentially said no. You're going to get depressed about that. You're going to get down in the dumps of, why can I not have this removed? What's the point of going on? What's the point? You're going to get angry first, but that anger is going to lead to depression. That depression is going to lead to these thoughts of, why, God? Why are you leaving me like this? Can you see how Paul is exhibiting this? You see, if he wasn't experiencing depression, he would have just asked one time, God, can you please take this away from me? And God said, no, okay, fine, God, I'm cool with that. I'll deal with it. No, if he didn't have depression, he would have only asked one time about it. But how many times did he ask? 3 times. And what's the language that he used in verse 8? Not, I asked the thorn to be taken away from me. I pleaded with God. Pleaded gives this connotation of, God, please, 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 please. And 3 times in a row, God says no. And so he has to be asking questions of, why? Remember, he's doing this so that he doesn't get a big head. He doesn't become conceited. He doesn't get an ego about him. So tonight's emotion, if you haven't figured it out, and this is the one you're going to be talking about in your devotion as well, is this issue of depression. And even with this issue, even with us being in the middle of a pandemic, this issue prevailed our culture way before a coronavirus outbreak. But even more so now that people are stuck in their homes, people are out of work, not sure how they're going to feed their family, not sure how they're going to pay their rent, not sure how insurance is going to cover what damages they may have, or if they're going to get unemployment. There's a lot of things up in the air that leaves the opportunity for depression to creep in. What are those things? That might be thorns. Thorns in people's side. That they are begging God, take this stuff away from me. But God has said, no. So, again, the reason why is outlined in verse 9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness. What? Y'all read that verse again with me. Into verse 9. Therefore I will boast. I will brag. I will make sure that everybody knows I have this, and I'm going to say it proudly. I'm going to flex on you, saying that I have this weakness and you don't. Boom. Paul is saying, I'm flexing on you about my weakness. I'm flexing on you about my depression. I am being so proud of my depression because this is what God has given me. Does that sound like a normal human reaction? No, absolutely not. Nobody goes around and seriously jokes that they are proud that they can't escape sad and depressing thoughts. So, but he keeps going. So that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Verse 10, here's the real countercultural thing. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, I am strong. What in the world, Paul, do you mean when you're weak, you're strong? How does calamities and weaknesses and hardships and insults make you strong? You got to go look back at the passage. And this is where, in your devotion this week, you're going to bring this to your own life. Paul is okay with his depression. He's boasting about it. He's gotten to the point now where he says, I'm okay with this. Why? Verse 9. God's grace is sufficient for him. God's power is made perfect in weakness. One of the other things that we talked about in the Bible study is, what is the purpose of man and God? Remember how we talked about they're both the same thing? God's glory. This is where you're going to pick up a little bit more, but this is where I'm going to leave you for your introductory video. Paul is okay with and even bragging about this thorn that's causing this depression and this weakness. And now he's saying, I'm okay with it now. Why? Because God's power can come into his life. And the only thing that he has to rely on now is God. He can get no credit if he makes it, because the odds are stacked up against him. Chances are a lot of people watching this video, you feel like the odds are stacked up against you. You feel like you're not going to make it. You feel like things are too hard. And they are. Without outside help, you're not going to make it. Paul says there is outside help. That God's grace is sufficient for that help. That God's grace is going to be made perfect through your weakness. And that being made perfect means that God gets all the glory, God gets all the credit. God takes the blame for how your life turns out well. Because without it, you could easily say, look at me. I did this all on my own. And so how do you get to the point to where you say, I'm okay with this? How do you get to the point to where you say, I'm okay with this for God's glory? Because that's the point that Paul got to. The answer? You ready for it? Devotion over emotion. Are you devoted to Christ so much that those emotions, yes, they're there. Yes, some of them were good. Yes, most of them are good. Yes, all of them were intended to be good, but we jacked them up with our sin. So those jacked up emotions now are bringing you down. Is your devotion greater than that? Is your devotion to Christ? This is where you're going to be challenged a little bit more in your devotion. I cannot stress enough. You got to get this devotion. Even if you can't sit down with your family and do it on your own. Because you're only getting half a Bible study with these Facebook videos. So, is your devotion greater than your emotion? Is your depression something that you have not given to God? You said, I'm fighting this on my own. I'm not going to take care. I got this. Or if you said, God, I need help. Because he's going to come and he's going to show his power through your weakness. And he's going to make you content. But it takes devotion over emotion. Pick up the Bible study. I've got a copy in my hand right now. They're going to look like this. It's backwards, of course, because it's a video. It's mirrored. But you can see we have a Bible study section. And after that, the second section is going to be a spot where you talk about yourself. And you're going to be answering personal questions about the topic for the week, the emotion for the week, and how it relates to you. And then you're going to spend some time in prayer. All right? You're going to spend some time as a group going around the room and praying for this stuff. And then finally, you're going to figure out, what do I need to do after this? What do I need to do with this information? And then after that, you're done. So, pick this up. It's on the church Facebook page. It's on the church website. Soon there's going to be a Google form where you can put your email address in and get this sent to you every single week. Get your hands on this. Sit down with your family and go through, and so that together you can learn in person how your devotion can be greater than your emotion. Let me pray us out. God, you're great. You're awesome. In the midst of our weakness, in the midst of our struggle, in the midst of our pain, you were there. You were there in the midst of our negative emotions that bring us down, that threaten to take us out, that say, I can't do this anymore. God, I pray that you would give us the mindset of the Apostle Paul when he had this thing that was causing just so much issue in his life. Where 3 times he begged and you said, no, my grace is sufficient for you. And then he got to the point where he said, I'm content with boasting about this weakness now. God, show us in the devotion how we can get to that point. Lead us in your will. Show us who you are. Help our devotion to grow stronger than our emotion. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you've done. In your precious, most holy name I pray. Amen. All right, y'all. I hope your devotions go great. Remember, you should watch this video before the devotion. Be on the lookout for that Google Doc so that you can get your email put on it. And we will see you middle schoolers Monday night. And we will see high schoolers Tuesday night for Zoom. And again, if you need those links, get in touch with the church and we'll get those to you.